It has been scientifically proven that youth is the most active period of time in a person's life. So raise your hands if in the last week you have done at least 150 minutes of exercise and or sports. Oh, not many at all. Well, I barely met that threshold too. So while we as young active people can really meet the amount recommended by the WHO, I don't really know about each one of you guys here, but I'm of the type that always think the gyms are boring and repetitive. I want something more fun and competitive, which is sports. Here, the problems with sports start to emerge. I've tried most of the popular sports in Vietnam, so let me begin with soccer. Soccer, along with volleyball, basketball, etc., are large team sports. It's really hard to play a match without having first to be able to assemble at least 10 people. Could you raise your hands if you have experienced this situation where you gather somewhere to play a sport only to go home early because there were not enough people? Yes, I can see quite some hands over there. Thank you. Now we're in summer, so a lot of you are thinking about going to a pool. Others are more hesitant, especially if they can't swim. You see, swimming as an activity has a barrier to entry in the sense that you must go through a period of learning before you can enjoy it. Some other sports, such as gymnastics, have really extended learning time, which could take years of sweaty practice. Not to mention, swimming in urban areas like in Hanoi here often involves sharing a pool with many others. They have to use a lot of disinfectant if you want to avoid infections and diseases, and the cost of maintaining a pool is not small at all. Big, bad environmental footprints are characteristic of many other sports, like golf or in colder countries, ice hockey, and skating, for instance. The last example are considered luxury sports by many people. There's another trait that's shared among them. The equipment costs an arm and a leg to acquire. Think of sailing or horse riding. Even in a sport more familiar with us, tennis, the shoes and rackets are often prohibitively expensive. Oh, not to mention that racket sports like tennis and ping pong make you look like a crab with a big and a small pincer because they force it to use one arm much more than the other. Speaking of muscles, a lot of people consider martial arts to be sports, and I agree because they are in the Olympics, but they have a deadly flaw. They are all direct impact sports where you are really prone to injuries from kicks and punches and all type of violent attacks. Even soccer, which I mentioned before, and not a martial art, could and has been really nasty. As many of you have witnesses on TV, the horrible fouls committed in Belize. I believe quite a few of you guys here see esports as sports. After all, they have that word in the name, right? I can't really argue with that because they really could be fun and competitive. But for the purpose of this talk, physical activity, let's agree that PUBG and LOL and Counter-Strike don't work out for anything of significance. Is there any popular sport that I'm missing? Yes, badminton. You see, after experiencing the cons of many sports, I finally turned to badminton. How many of you here have played badminton at least once? Great. Now, raise your hand if you have participated in a tournament or for a prize of some sort. Nice. Keep your hands up. I'll ask you guys later. Okay, one of the things that I discovered about badminton is that the shuttlecock is heavily affected by even the slightest breeze. So all kinds of serious play have to happen indoors. Is it correct, mister? And while you are at it, can I ask how many shuttles are usually discarded during a competitive match? Thank you. I was unaware of all the thrown away shuttles until one day I volunteered to clear up the facility's storage room and encountered starches upon starches of used ones. Where did all of them go? I don't know. Perhaps into a dump somewhere underground. I made a point to watch a professional badminton game on TV and counted at least 7 shuttle changes during the match. It turned out that this sport is not easy on the environment at all. Let's say that I just discovered, belatedly, that badminton is in fact bad. Should have learned that from its name, just like with esports or tennis. You see, after the incident with badminton, I paid more attention to this kind of sport footprint and found out that tennis facility wastes tens of balls after each session. Does all of this mean that there is no perfect sport? For every sport that I looked at, I found at least 2 problems. Sometimes the cons are so numerous, they even outnumber the pros. So, if you were me, who really like to play a sport to improve your health but can't find a suitable one, what would you do? As for me, I thought, is it possible to create a new sport that managed to combine many of the pros and at the same time avoid the cons? Because I had some time, I decided to do a bit of research into the most popular sports of the world and try to sort out the elements, their characteristics. Then I made a list of stuff I wanted the new sport to achieve. Because I had some knee and heel injuries in the past, I wanted it to be really safe, to reduce the chance of a player being hurt to the absolute minimum. As an environmentalist, I wanted it to be eco-friendly. Being a left-handed person, I had faced many difficulties with equipment and wanted to eliminate the problem altogether in the new sport and making it so inexpensive that everyone can play with ease, and etc. etc. After a lot of brainstorming, I came up with a concept and I named it Boluta. By now, perhaps many of you have learned that there must be something behind a name. Yes, the 3 syllables represent 3 simple components you need to play a game: the ball, the net, and your hands. There will be some auxiliary stuff, but in essence, it's just the 3. You will throw a used tennis ball on a badminton court. Now, because of the time limit, I won't go through every detail in the rules, but let me dive into just one thing that in my opinion is really fascinating: the scoring system. If you recall, all of the sports that utilize the ball use either a scoring system based on time, like soccer, or one based on points, like ping pong. In the former case, a game ends when 90 minutes are up. In the latter case, it ends when either side manages to score 11 points. Boluta is unique in that it has no fixed time nor score threshold. To win a game, you just need to score 3 consecutive, or in other words, back-to-back points. Sounds really simple, right? Let me test you with a situational question. Suppose that you are playing against me. I have scored 2 points. How many more points do I need in order to win the game? I hear many of you saying 1, and that's the correct answer. Let's continue with the match, okay? I almost managed to score the last point by throwing a really fast ball, but you are able to catch it and throw back in a very smart way that I can't reach. And you score 1 point. Now, who is taking the lead? The surprising answer to many people here is that you are actually leading me 1 point. Why? Because in order to win, you only need to get 2 more points. Meanwhile, I have to start from scratch and score 3. What's the meaning of all this? It means that a game could be really short, or in professional matches where players are pretty equal in skills, it could span a long time. Oh, have I mentioned that there are areas within the court that if you manage to throw the ball inside, will give you 2 points and sometimes even 3 points. The 3 point zones are called critical or sudden areas because a well-placed ball there will land you an insta kill. Insta win. And now, suddenly Boluta becomes much more exciting because it allows dramatic comebacks in what seem to be hopeless situations. In order to explain the 1, 2, and 3 point zones, or the singles, double, and triples modes, I will have to delve deeper into parts of the rules that are no longer the scoring system. So I'm not going to do it here. Instead, I have just set up a page on the internet where you can learn more about Boluta's rules, so feel free to go there. The link will appear on screen for a while, don't worry. In any case, these rules are the result of quite extensive playtesting with my family and friends, so I'd like to thank all the people who have helped with the creation of Boluta. Still, that doesn't mean the rules can't get better. In fact, I look forward to receiving feedback from you guys. I have asked those who play Boluta, and the general consensus is that it manages to solve most, if not all, of the problems I spoke of earlier. I just want to highlight a few opinions. First, Boluta take advantage of existing facilities such as discarded tennis balls and badminton courts, which are prevalent in Vietnam. In other words, we don't have to build new infrastructure. That's a big plus for the environment. And I think this sport is as close to zero waste as one can get. Second, Boluta leaves a lot of room for customization. The flexible rules allow us to adjust the net height, the footstep regulation, and the number of games and sets, etc. All based on a player's health condition and other individual variables. Third, Boluta helps improve eye-hand coordination and the control of applying force, making the sport great for all ages, but especially students. All of them mean I've got a perfect spot for me. It could be perfect for you too. In fact, we will set up several Boluta courts just next to this venue, so feel free to join us for a game during breaks or after the event, or really whenever you like. I have a hunch that Boluta will become popular all over the world. So isn't it wonderful to be one of the few pioneering players of this sport? If Boluta makes it into the Olympics, the early adopters of the sport will have a good chance of getting gold medals. And I truly hope they will be Vietnamese. But that's in the future. Right now, you guys are having another option to be more active and improve your health through a brand new sport. And if you try it and don't like it, you could always invent another sport that fits you. Because if I could do it, you can too. Whenever you encounter a problem or something difficult in life, remember that among the options, you can always create a new solution by being creative. Thank you for your time.